How's everybody doing? I just got home from work. Welcome to the fish room. I need to get some of my feedings done. So you saw that pair at the beginning of the video. They're actually in a tank behind me. They spawned another time. So it's been like 3 spawns in the matter of 2 weeks. Because I have one male in there and he's rotating through females. So another way you can kind of breed them is one male and a group of females, as long as the females are large enough. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the babies. I'm going to feed them some brine shrimp. I'll show you those, and I'll show you a clip at the end of the pairs kind of acting, and they're spawning, but once I put the camera on, they kind of stopped. But I'll still go ahead and show that clip at the end. Not the prettiest sight, but this is kind of where I'm raising the fry. So you can see my angel tank down here. This container here has some wigglers and starting to free swim fry. I'm hatching some eggs in here, and I have some maybe 10-day-old, week and a half old fry in there. So I went through and let's take a closer look, and I cleaned out the bottoms with my turkey baster. So any of the leftover brine shrimp at the bottom I kind of siphoned out. I took a few cups of water out, maybe did like a 40% water change, and then I added some water back. But they're starting to school up, they're doing well. Those are the free swimming guys. I'll pull the air stone and we'll take a look at those. In here I have a pretty strong tumble. There's some eggs in there. That's from the pair at the beginning of the video. So they're probably about a day away from leaving the pot and actually starting to get tumbled around. And those guys will hatch. They're not tumbled, but they'll hatch and then they'll come off and they'll usually go underneath the flower pot. The way I know that they hatch, I literally just lift the pot up and you'll see almost like a cloud of black dots, which is all the fry, and then I'll pull the flower pot out completely, lower that air, fill up some water. And over here I just did a water change on these guys and I removed the air stone. These are those wigglers that are just starting to free swim, so they're slowing down a little bit. Hopefully they start to eat and free swim more. You can see they're swimming on the bottom of the tank, so that's pretty cool. But they're at a very delicate stage. The first week or so, like these guys at the top, that's some good signs of them swimming around and leaving the bottom of the tank. But I'm gonna go ahead and feed these, and whenever I do have the air on them, this is what it looks like. It's pretty strong, but I lift it up, so they're getting a lot of surface agitation, they're getting a lot of oxygen. It's moving a lot of water, but also at the bottom, those guys can kind of hang out and not do much. They're not getting moved around too much. So I'll probably adjust it a little bit lower on the airflow, but I'm going to keep it elevated off the bottom so it's not getting a full rotation of current, and that way the guys at the bottom aren't going to get exhausted. But it's still a little bit rough, so I'm going to lower that down just a tiny bit. But let's go ahead and feed these guys. Here's all the brine shrimp in my container here. So all I'll do is I'll turkey baster them out. I did a video similar to this just the other week, so not too long ago, but the fry are bigger and they're more active, so it is kind of I wanted to redo it almost and kind of just give another update. But those guys will get some brine shrimp, and the other ones are just starting to get brine shrimp. Even if they're not eating it, I like to have that food available. As long as you clean up after them, you're okay, and you can add it a little bit sooner than you like sometimes. But trial and error mostly. If you have spawns and some of them aren't making it, you gotta try to make little adjustments, see what works and what doesn't work. Probably see them snap a few times at the food, but kind of hard to see. Since there's not a filter, just an air stone, that food won't get sucked up. So that brine shrimp's gonna swim in there until it dies or gets eaten. So that's why I like using air stones and not a filter. And they also are in a round container, so they can't get stuck in corners, and it's not clear, it's white. So all they're doing is looking for food and looking at each other and kind of swimming around, interacting, and there's less confusion. I find they eat better that way. And over here we'll add a little bit too. For these guys, I want to siphon from the bottom of my container, so that's going to be where the kind of the non-swimming food is, because the older these guys get, they'll swim to the top of the water, and then as soon as they hatch, they kind of lay on the bottom. So these guys are right at the very top. I can feed it to really anything, but these guys are young, so I'll just give it to like my guppies or something. But these young ones, I want to go all the way to the bottom where there's some just laying there, and I'll siphon those up, and that's what I'll feed these guys. Still super young, very delicate at this stage. So hopefully these guys make it. I know some definitely will. Like my last spawn, though, the guys are older. They're getting pretty stable now. I'm not too worried about losing those. But I had probably this many at one point. And you know, sometimes you just have stronger fish or weaker fish. Some don't eat right away. There's a lot of variables into play, but I've done this method and I've had 100 to 200 fry make it. I've had a dozen fry make it, and I've done the same thing. So just being consistent, find something that works and keep repeating it. Trial and error. These fish will keep breeding every few weeks when they're at their peak of breeding. So just keep trying it. Don't give up. These are heated, by the way. Some people ask me if I heat the containers. The room is heated, so these guys are warm. And I do not use RO water. This is all tap water, dechlorinated, and room temperature, which is around 80 degrees. So, yep, doesn't have to be as hard as some people make it out to be, but it's still not easy. But let's go ahead and take a look at the adults again. I'll show that clip, and I'll wrap this up. My adults are down there, but I figure I'll show, these are some of my grow outs, which they're getting to a size they can start breeding. I probably have one or two culls in here. They kind of have a flat bottom, like these guys will kind of drag on the bottom. Should have noticed it earlier and got it out, but this tank was so heavily stocked. Every time I come up, they would swarm for food, and now only, since they're getting bigger, they're a little bit noticeable. But there's probably only 3 or 4 in there. But let's go ahead, I'll feed them. You can see they go nuts for food. They really rarely get brine shrimp. At this size, they're eating all pelleted food, wafers, flake food, but they will feed on that in there. The adults, I'll give a little bit, so they can kind of graze throughout the day, even though it's nighttime. I feel like that doesn't hurt. Definitely helps trigger some spawns. And whenever there's a food source for fry, I found fish are more likely to breed because they know when they breed, there'll be a food source for their babies to grow up. It's kind of a good environment overall. As for the actual breeding setup, I just pulled a flower pot, and it was in the middle. They spawned there, and there was a flower pot there, so I pulled the one out. They actually laid another 15 or 20 eggs. They're gone now, so I should have pulled them out. You want to pull the eggs as soon as you see them breeding and then wait for them to finish. But if you see 100 eggs there and there's a ton of eggs and they're still breeding, it doesn't hurt just to pull them right then and replace another flower pot that they can continue to breed if they choose to. But you have the majority of the fry, and the earlier you pull them, the less risk there is of them getting eaten by other fish. So I went ahead and pulled that out. But for my breeding setup, what I'm doing, these guys are around 82 degrees right now. My tank's a little bit lower just because this tank, I find it splashes out or it leaks a little bit once it's in the top inch of the tank. So I just fill it lower, and that way I'm not getting it. I get like a calcium line that kind of leaks a little bit. So I need to fix these 2 tanks to it. The rest of them don't. I fill them up all the way. That's not because they're breeding or anything. That's just the way this tank is. And I'll probably end up just replacing the tank eventually, but it works fine. But the way the breeding setup is, they got a sponge filter. I give them some hiding places, which right now they're pretty established and they're not fighting, so I don't have anything crazy in there. But over here in this other breeding tank, it's a little bit more dense. There's moss. I've also done these fake plants before. You see these like leaves. Gives more coverage and kind of breaks up the vision of the fish if they want to. Usually after they breed, the male's going to keep trying to breed with the female, especially in a new pair, and they'll sometimes kill them. So if you're getting started off, have a few tanks and separate them after they breed, or give tons of hiding places, or give multiple females, or all of the above. But for right now, they're doing really well. I've had them in here for probably about, let me see if I have a date written down. I think it's been 2 or 3 months, maybe closer to 3 months. So I know I'm kind of running on, but I just want to give you guys some information. If you're curious on doing this and I leave anything out, I'm just kind of throwing some information at you guys. But give them flower pots. I had 3 at one point, so there's 3 flower pots, some type of hiding place. If the females are real scared, they'll actually dive in there or hide behind those things so they can get away from the other females or the males. I filter it with a sponge filter. Gives it a little bit of surface agitation. This tank's not super fast current. It filters enough water so it does fine chemically, and anything too fast is going to blow whenever the male's trying to fertilize the eggs. the current's gonna be too fast and he's not gonna be able to fertilize the eggs properly. So you don't wanna have too fast of a current. Also, having them breed in caves instead of on slates or rocks, that's gonna help kind of break up the current too, and the male can really fertilize the most eggs out of all the female's eggs. To tell the females apart, they're a little bit shorter. They're gonna have a fatter belly. They're gonna have blue dots inside the black. So these little, let me see if I can, like, see, this is the male. See that black dot on the side? There's no blue inside of it. He also has longer fins. He's gonna have a flatter chest from his lip to his bottom of his fins. It's gonna be more straight. The females is gonna kind of give him more of a chin, so round out, which it's hard to tell on every fish. Everyone's a little different. Like that female's ready to breed. Her vent's actually out. So you see a little white dot in between her two bottom fins right by her vent. I know I'm scaring her every time I do that, but that was pretty easy to see. She has her tube down, so that fish is probably the one that bred yesterday, or she's ready to breed and she's gonna pair up. So that's very extended tube. So she just finished breeding, or she's about to breed. There might even be eggs in the back of this flower pot for all I know. Can't see any right now, but they'll breed behind there sometimes. So just some examples. I know it doesn't cover everything, but I have 7 females, 1 male in this tank. They can breed in any numbers, but something new I'm trying out and it's working really well. These males can breed every few days or so. I mean, it's not gonna really hurt the fish. They're choosing to breed. If they don't wanna breed, they don't have to breed. And having this many females, if they bred every week, there's 7 females, that's 7 weeks. So they're not gonna do that, but it's just an example that they're gonna get plenty of rest time, and they're really colored up now. That, I mean, you can just look at your fish. I mean, you're gonna learn a lot of things just from seeing them, the way they're acting. If they're not healthy and they don't wanna breed, they're not gonna breed. So if they're breeding a ton, it's not a bad thing for them. They're choosing to do it. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw that clip in there. I know I'm kind of rambling on, but hopefully that helps some of you guys. It was interesting, but this guy's ready to breed again behind that flower pot. You can see they're cleaning. Trying to show you the males, females, fry, feeding, the care for the fry, how to clean. But I know I'm repeating some stuff, so let me just show you that clip. I'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for the next video. I'm gonna be doing a tank update on tanks 14, 15, and 16 tomorrow, or maybe later today.